Planning Commission. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded, and the order of events tonight will be as follows. For each public hearing, staff will introduce the agenda item and present a summary of the staff report. The applicant will then be asked to explain their proposal in further detail and to answer any questions from the Planning Commission members. I will then open the floor to public comment. First, the persons in support of the application, and then for persons in opposition of the application. When you step up to the podium, please state your name, address, and speak clearly into the microphone. Each speaker will have the chance to speak once and should keep their comments to less than 5 minutes. Speakers are encouraged to only address new and relevant information pertaining to the item. Above all, please be cordial to all meeting participants and refrain from side conversations and speaking out of turn, or you'll be asked to leave. Lastly, decisions on rezoning applications will be scheduled for an additional public hearing during the upcoming County Board of Commissioners meeting. Decisions on conditional use permits may be appealed to the County Board of Commissioners by submitting a letter to the County Planning and Zoning Office within 5 business days. All right, we got that. So I will do roll call for members. Commissioner Hogan.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Ensted.
Here.
Commissioner Green.
Here.
Commissioner Scott.
Here.
Commissioner Poppins.
Here.
And Commissioner Jungling is also here. All right, approval of the meeting minutes. Commissioners, I assume you've all had the handout and seen the meeting minutes for the previous meeting. Do you see any changes or adjustments?
Mr. Chairman, I
none?
move to accept the meeting minutes.
Thank you.
Second, Green.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, I'll do roll call to approve the meeting minutes. Commissioner Hogan.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Ensted.
Yes.
Commissioner Green.
Yes.
Commissioner Scott.
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Jungling is also a yes. All right, now approving of the meeting agenda. Are there any changes on tonight's agenda, Mr. Brown?
No changes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you much. Commissioners, I'll ask for a motion to approve the meeting agenda as written.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve.
A second.
All right, motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll do roll call to approve tonight's meeting minutes. Commissioner Hogan.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson.
Yes.
Commissioner Ensted.
Yes.
Commissioner Green.
Yes.
Commissioner Scott.
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
And Commissioner Jungling is also a yes. All right, now one of the most fun times of the night. We're asking for public input on non-agenda items. Is there anyone that's anything that's not on the agenda tonight? Seeing none, I'll close the floor to that. Dang it, I was kind of looking forward to
Well, I
that.
could gladly talk about the Cowboys game last night. If you're like-
So moving on, old business. Any old business, Mr. Brown?
None, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you much. We'll move on to public hearings and application number 1. There was football last night? There was?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Toby Brown with County Planning. This first item is an application for a conditional use permit. The applicant for this item is Willie Cheddar. He is the general contractor for the new building. The property owner is Andrew Rippentrop. Location of this property is approximately 800 feet north of the T corporate limits. Subject property is zoned I-1 light industrial. Parcel size is 0.70 acres. As you can see, all surrounding developed property is zoned I-1 light industrial. The property is just to the west, that is zoned commercial. That is a detention pond that is, I would say, that's owned by Lincoln County, but it's not. It's just a tax deed property of Lincoln County, but it is a detention pond. Subject property is currently vacant. It did have a structure on it that was burned down recently. The applicant has submitted a conditional use permit essentially to replace the building, and this will be a 6,000 square foot building. And a portion of it, the east bay, would be utilized for light manufacturing, as was in the previous building. And talking with the applicant, staff's recommendation is that all of the building be allowed as a conditional use for light manufacturing. This will allow us then, the applicant, to work with future tenants in the other 2 units. Wouldn't have to go through the same process, but will be under the same regulations through this conditional use permit. So what the applicant's proposing is construct a 6,000 square foot building and to utilize the 3 units that will be in there for light manufacturing uses. The building will meet all required standards of the zoning ordinance. So staff did review this application and did identify that this proposal would be consistent with the Code of Ordinances and the comprehensive plan, and would recommend the 8 conditions there. Specifically is that the entire building would be utilized for light manufacturing, and that it gives some flexibility with the owner. But then other uses that may be subject to conditional use permits would still have to go through that process. As you're well aware of, like these typical type units, they might do like car repair or those different types of items. Those would have to go through additional public hearings. But this, if approved, this permit would allow all 3 units to be utilized for light manufacturing type uses. And with that, again, we did post the property. The applicant did send notice out to adjoining property owners. And as of this public hearing, staff has had no comments from anyone regarding this proposed application. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for staff at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Commissioners, any questions for staff? All
Okay,
right,
thank you.
thank you. At this time, I will ask the applicant or their representative to come forward and talk more about the application.
Hi, Andrew Rippentrop. You wanted my address, 1317 West Stonegate Drive, Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Perfect, thank you.
All right. Basically, yeah, just what he said. I'm trying to replace the building I lost in October and get my business back up and running. I've been in that spot for 17 years, 5 years as a renter, 10 years in a contract for deed, and 2 years as the owner, and I lost it this October. Just trying to get back my building that I lost.
All right. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant? All right, a couple is, so with your line of business in there, does it need to be sprinklered? Is that a sprinkler system in that building?
I don't believe so. I'm not sure what the ordinances are, but it's basically a paint shop, painting woodwork and stuff like that.
All right, just came to mind, but yeah, all right.
The only question I have, Mr. Chairman, is you've reviewed the 8 stipulations that they're recommending to be attached to it?
Was this, yeah, I don't think I've seen all. Oh, yes, this one I have seen.
Okay.
Yep. Yep, and general contractor is Willie. Reeves Building's gonna be putting up the building, and Willie Cheddar is the GM on it. I do all his work, so.
Cool. All right. Commissioners, you good? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, I will ask anybody in favor of the application, please come forward.
I mean, me?
Other than yourself?
All right, at this time, I'll ask anybody in opposition of the application come forward. Seeing none, I'll close the floor to public input, and I'll ask for a motion from the commission.
Motion to approve with the 8 recommendations from staff.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Commissioners, any additional conversation? Seeing none, I will do roll call. And we have a motion, a second with the 8 conditions. Commissioner Hogan,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Ensted,
Yes.
Commissioner Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Scott,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Jungling is also a yes. Congratulations.
All right, thank you so much. Thanks for getting me in on this meeting too. I
Welcome.
really appreciate
It
it.
was tough to fit you in, but
We're so busy tonight.
Pretty full house.
good
Good
luck.
night.
All right, with that, we move on to new business. Mr. Brown.
I would start out with saying is we did have two other items for this evening, but our legal newspapers did not fulfill the publishing requirements, so those are carried over to next month's meeting.
timeout. Which papers failed?
T.
Just the one?
Yep. So that'll be a rezone and an initiated text amendment will be heard at the next. month's
And
meeting.
you were made aware of the 3 legal newspapers moving forward?
Yes,
Okay.
yep.
For everyone's record, we've had an issue with this, and we have chosen to only reward the top 3 newspapers, or the ones with the least amount of errors. And T and I think Sioux Falls did not make the list, or as far as applicants, but maybe it did, but I had to verify. But the rest of them, they're still getting advertised, but they're not considered legal newspapers in case we have situations like this again.
And it happens. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen, I guess, but it's unfortunate that we did have two other items for this evening, and those will be carryovers. So for items, there was no action by the Board of Commissioners in between the last month's meetings. There was a weather delay, and so rezone 0073, which was the Lund, which is up by T, which is a rezone to commercial on the Tempo edition. That one will be heard next Tuesday by the Board of Commissioners. And then the rezone 0079, that's the Walsh one, that's just to the west of here. That's the Canton one, rezone to commercial. That'll be heard on 124 as well. And then the plan development, the Corey Kyle one, which is up by T, that will be heard on February 7th. So those will be changed over. So there was no action in between there on those two. Any questions on that or?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. One other thing that I would point out is that the commission at the last month's meeting, or last week's meeting, did reappoint Commissioner Scott to his 2nd year or 4-year term. So he will.
Sorry.
Thanks, Mike. That was kind of the way I was feeling too, but yeah.
So he'll be serve. And for those, just a little reminder is that there's technically 2 terms that the board appoints you to. There's one 4-year term and then a second 4-year term that you're appointed to. And so in the past, we hadn't always done a job of going through that kind of interim appointment on the second one. So we've started doing that again. And actually Scott was the first one that our previous 2 that would have hit that point resigned in between. So we didn't have anyone. So he was kind of the first one that went through that process. The other thing I'd point out too is that, and you guys know this, but you are technically employees of Lincoln County. You had to go through the screening process, and you all have signed the same paperwork that we have all signed as employees, that the personnel manuals and all that stuff too. So I think while you are appointed to your positions, you're still considered for the records of the county to be employees of Lincoln County. And so, in saying that, is that we will have one vacancy that's been advertised, and that is Commissioner Jongling, through the redistricting process, was districted out of the district that he was appointed to. And so that is Commissioner Poppins' district. And so Commissioner Poppins has authorized the advertising of an open vacancy in that position. And so pending any other things, Commissioner Jongling, next month, we will be selecting the chair and vice chair for the commission. And then we also appoint the alternates, and as it stands, for sure he'll be going to an alternate position, or if anything else becomes available for him moving forward. So I just want to make sure that we thank you for his service and things like that, and we'll definitely be seeing him again, because we all know that we use the alternates quite a bit, so. And then the last thing I put on here was a discussion of the joint work session that we had last month with the Board of Commissioners. And partly I put this on here because the PowerPoint that I presented at that meeting, we didn't have that on the agenda, so I put that on the next agenda, essentially what it is, so the public can see some of those things. And so I don't know if you guys had any conclusions or any comments or thoughts related to that meeting. I know Commissioner Poppins wasn't there, but if there's any of you that have any comments or questions, certainly entertain anything.
I thought it was good, Toby, and thanks for putting all that information together. I think annually it's good to see that stuff, and it kind of gives us a overhead view of what's going on, and, yeah, I know that's a lot of work to put that together, and we sure appreciate you doing it.
I agree, and also just looking forward to the new comprehensive plan where I think we all agreed, commissioners and planning and zoning, is that's where we need to start to make our next steps. We all have ideas, but that'll be the very first best step.
Yep. I think it'll just be nice that we all get kind of on the same page with the same roadmap, or we're all handed the same roadmap,
And the public too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's gonna be a process
Absolutely.
where the public can be involved, and we can get input, and then, like, as I mentioned at that meeting too, is that, it's a monumental, it's gonna be a year-long activity with the comp plan, but then after that, we need to look at the zoning regulations, the subdivision regulations, because that's where the law stuff is, to make sure that we're carrying out what the vision is for the county, so. Yeah, but I'm excited for that part of it too, so.
Is, one thing I was gonna, was your presentation, is that available on the county website?
Yeah, we just put it on the agenda, yeah, so
I
it'll be
would
on
say
this
I was
agenda.
looking over it,
Yeah.
this past week. I was
Okay.
looking at.
So
it.
it'll continue to be there then? We just have
It'll
to
be on
look-
that agenda. item.
On that agenda item, okay.
Yep, yep.
Is there any way we could just put that on the planning and zoning website?
Yeah,
as a
if you guys
link?
want to, we can put it on there, yep.
I think it'd be good. I think it'd be good for us to, it'd be an easy way for us to find it. It'd be an easy way for the public to find it.
Yeah, okay. Anything else? That's all I had, really.
I don't have anything, commissioners.
Nope.
All right, well, with that, we'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll offer that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you much.